All right, welcome to another episode of the Greater Cause podcast. This is Pastor Jack, as always, with Pastor Randy on Christmas Day. Randy, how are you?
Oh, doing well, Jack.
Wow.
We are dedicated. We pulled away from our family on Christmas Day to give the folks their podcast. Or we're really bad parents.
You are a man of the people. What can we say? What can we say?
You got to love the beauty of taping things in advance.
So we're going to continue our discussion on Christmas, and you brought this incredible nativity set here that is over 50 years old.
About 50 years old, yeah.
Before we get there, favorite Christmas song?
Oh, favorite Christmas song, yeah. In terms of beauty, Oh Holy Night. I just think that's a beautiful song.
That's when we always end our Christmas Eve service with.
That's Silent Night.
Silent Night.
Yeah. A lot of people confuse the two.
Yep,
Silent Night's a great song, too. As far as lyrics go,
we should try ending it with Oh Holy Night.
You know what? We might not even confuse anybody. you leave the candles out, that might confuse them, though.
Right.
As far as lyrics, hark the herald angels sing.
Yeah.
I mean, veiled in flesh, the Godhead see. Hail the incarnate deity, pleased as men, with men to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. I mean, you're just not writing many songs like that anymore.
Right.
Powerful lyrics and a beautiful song. So, yeah, those I like so many of them. So many of them are unbiblical, and that's a good segue into our nativity scene
right
now.
Why don't you tell us a little about it?
Well, let's just talk about the nativity scene. I thought that'd be a fun way to enjoy about 10 minutes together.
So look at how small Jesus is. Is that biblical?
Yeah, I actually, he probably was a lot smaller than that. He doesn't really look like a newborn right there. Jesus, of course, would have...
He's a little bigger there. That's what I was thinking as we put him out.
He would have been actually a little bigger than that, I think.
Probably not in a manger at that
in
age,
proportion.
though, right?
And I'm glad we found Jesus, because we were unpacking this thing. We couldn't find... Like, what's a Christmas scene without Jesus being there? But
special effects, we could have put him in there.
So what do we got going here, Jack? We got a lot of things that are biblical and a lot of things that are very questionable.
Why don't you explain for the listeners who aren't watching this what you're looking at here?
Yeah, so this is our nativity scene that we referred to in our last episode. That this was a gift that I asked for as an unbeliever when I was about 5 years old.
Yeah, how old were you? 5?
5 maybe.
Wow.
And this was a Christmas present for me, and it still is around, which is surprising because my kids would always play with it for like the last 24 years.
Last week you said the
angel. Hold the angel up, Jack. I can't reach that far. Can you get it? The angel's missing a wing.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like it's been glued before.
The camel's been taken out many, many times. So we got chip paint on these guys too. But let's look at
you guys have good veterinarians
from a biblical
Smith
perspective.
household.
What do we got going here? So we got one thing that jumps out at me too when I look at this scene is you have Luke 2, Matthew 2. Those are the two chapters that talk about the Christmas narrative.
Okay.
And what I find very interesting too is how they all talk about the different biblical features and characters, and they present an emotional response of each one of these guys. So the Magi, when they arrive, when they see the star and they make their way to the house, they are spoken of having exceedingly great joy. So that's their reaction. Herod, who's not represented in our little manger scene here, was, as you know, deeply troubled when he heard there was another king that was born that could be a rival to him.
Yeah.
We don't know about Joseph. Mary, of course, treasures the events, ponders these things in her heart. The shepherds were at first very scared when the angel appeared to them.
As we all would be.
Of course. And then they rejoiced when they made their way to Bethlehem.
Right.
So the shepherds, they're always... the sheep is missing his face. Can you zoom in on that?
That's fine.
So the shepherds, they're always made out to be these amazing heroes, these beautiful, good-looking young men, and they were kind of the scum of the day, historically speaking. They were not even allowed, I believe, to witness in court. They were out by the sheep. They weren't allowed, I believe, in most of the religious life of Israel. They were kind of outcasts. But they did arrive that first night, so that's fair to say that they were there. There was probably many of them, not just one. Probably. I don't know. Did they leave the sheep or did they bring the sheep with them, Jack?
Are we in a town here, or
Well,
are we
that's
on,
another
a
question. We got to
countryside?
ask what this was.
Yeah.
We always think it's a barn, a stable, but technically we don't know. Jesus was laid to rest in a manger. That we know. So that's a feeding trough for animals. That I guess would be doable as a feeding trough for animals. And we assume it was a stable because that's what it says. But most people say probably it wasn't. It could have been a cave. Some people say it was the guest house of a house.
Oh, okay.
No room in the inn. That would mean the guest house, potentially. I think there's no record of even an innkeeper saying that. We say that the innkeeper said.
Right.
No record of animals being there at the time.
Yeah.
So that's the animals, in a sense, they could have been there. Maybe the sheep came with the shepherds, but unbiblical. I don't know who that guy is. Why don't you hold that guy up, Jack? Like a little bagpipe player. Right?
Maybe he's a shepherd too. Do they have musicians?
I
in the
don't know
field
who
with
he
them?
is.
He's
I think that
looks
might
like-
be one of the most unbiblical elements of this entire scene.
So we have one at home, and I always hide the wise men because the one in our
Yeah.
house is a baby. So I'll hide the wise men way on the other side of the house
Because they're still,
like they're far away.
seeing the star in the east, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
the wise men technically are not here. And that's a good point, Jack, because it says they came to see the child in his house.
Yeah, right.
So they weren't even, these guys don't belong here.
They're back
These
home.
guys weren't even here. They were still out. Definitely there was more than 3 of them. They were probably astrologers.
So they weren't
And
kings.
They weren't kings.
No kings.
Wise men might even be a stretch to say. They were magi. And probably more than 3, because anytime you travel across the desert, especially if you have a lot of expensive gifts with you,
Right.
These guys would be easy prey for the thieves in the desert with the gifts that they had. There's no way these guys would have made it there alive with these gifts, with just a trio of them.
Right.
So they probably had a whole entourage with them, and I guess the camel might have come with them, so we could put the camel with the wise men. The angel, I can't tell by the face, looked more like a girl, but obviously angels in the Bible are always guys. Yours look like a guy, Jack.
I don't know. These days, this could be a guy.
We're not going. That's a podcast for a
That's a different
day.
podcast.
Different day, Jack. So we got the angel. There was the one angel appeared to the shepherds, and then the heavenly host appeared.
Yeah. Singing.
Again, I'm going off memory. I don't know if there's any record of the angels actually coming. I think once they appeared, then they all disappeared.
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that one, but I don't think they ever. They're, to some degree, angels were there.
Right.
But I'm not sure if it's like they saw the angels there the way they saw them out in the field.
Right.
So I think that's.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Anything else jump out at you, Jack? I covered all.
I think you covered it all. So that sheep I see as an abstract sheep, right? It's more of a representative of all of God's sheep coming.
Oh,
to
you're
see,
like, you're going for a deeper meaning on all this, aren't you?
That's right.
I can also tell you, I
That's
can
right.
see why he's got that sheep on his shoulders when it's missing its entire face. He actually
He's a
needed
very
some.
kind shepherd.
He has no
right?
eyes. He couldn't
Right.
find his way there. He needed
Right.
to be carried there.
Right.
But I think that's about it, Jack. I think we
that's
could wrap.
good.
You want to wrap
That's
this one
good.
up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Merry Christmas.
It's getting a little bit silly here, Jack. I think it might be a good time to call it quits here.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone. We look forward to having you back with us next week. If you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe. You can find us anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. Rate us. Helps us find, or people find us. And our goal is simply to glorify God by spreading his word. So, Randy, thanks for helping us do that,
Thanks,
brother.
Jack. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.